Good evening. This second regular meeting of the 74th term of the Baltimore City Council is now called to order. I want to extend a special welcome to our City Council pages, Anelka Ellis and Jalen Robinson, who are joining us for their first meeting. Please give a round of applause to our pages. They are joining us from Poly and Bard. Welcome aboard. All right, tonight's invocation will be offered by Rabbi Daniel Katzenberg of Beth Am Synagogue. Rabbi Berg, the floor is yours.
Mr. City Council President, thank you, and esteemed members of this Baltimore City Council, I invite us to pray, but more importantly, I invite us to listen. God, you have fashioned us in your image, inviting us into a great unity we call humanity. Within that unity, there are also many divisions. Some of these are corrosive, even destructive. Help these public servants to avoid the worst of our baser instincts and to reach toward one another to form networks, coalitions, and partnerships. Some of these divisions are natural and healthy, though. Master of time and space, help these council members to honor diversity, to pursue pluralism, to recognize the array of backgrounds, beliefs, and aspirations here in our beloved city. May this sacred hall be a vessel for a free and dynamic exchange of ideas. May the holy work of governance elevate our communities, improve our institutions, and secure our collective safety. Mekor HaChaim, source of all life, those present in this room call you by different names. Some are among the faithful, others may not be. But you know that leadership demands not allegiance to you, but adherence to the many shared principles of our respective traditions, religious and otherwise. May we find strength in sacrifice, courage in empathy, learning made possible by curiosity, and most importantly, love for one another that honors the magnificent complexity and possibility of life. To this I pray we can all say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Berg. And now, Councilmember Zach Blanchard of the 11th District and our resident Marine veteran will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Blanchard. The clerk will now call the roll of the members.
Parker.
Here.
McCray. Dorsey. Conway.
Here.
Schleifer. Here. Middleton. Here. Torrance. Gray.
Here.
Bullock. Porter.
Present.
Blanchard.
Present.
Jones.
Present.
Glover.
Here.
Ramos. President Cohen.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now proceed with the adoptions of the journals.
Mr. President, the journal for the December 5th, 2024 regular meeting proceedings are in members' inboxes.
Without objection, the journal will be adopted. Hearing none, the journal is adopted. We will now move into executive nominations.
EA 25-0001, Veronica Macbeth, Director, Department of Transportation.
This nomination has been assigned to the Committee on Legislative Investigations.
EA 25-002, John Laria, Chair, Planning Commission.
This nomination has been assigned to the Committee on Legislative Investigations. We will now turn to bills to be introduced. I'm incredibly excited about the legislation being introduced tonight and grateful that many of you joined us for a press conference this morning. As Baltimore City's council, we are the branch of government that is closest to the people of our city. The sponsors of this legislation take that seriously, and they brought forward laws and legislation that will improve the quality of life of every single Baltimorean, regardless of neighborhood, while focusing on the needs and concerns of their council districts. The clerk will read the first bill.
25-001, Department of Consumer Protection and Business Licensing. For the purpose of creating the Department of Consumer Protection and Business Licensing, providing for the leadership and staffing of the department, establishing the department's purpose, powers, and duties, creating the Board of Consumer Protection and Business Licensing, providing for the membership of the board, establishing the purpose, powers, and duties of the board, transferring the administration of certain business licenses to the department, repealing certain obsolete boards, allowing the department to suspend a certain license if the licensee engages in unfair, abusive, and deceptive trade practices, providing for a special effective date, making conforming changes, and generally relating to consumer protection and business licensing. Lead sponsor, Dorsey. Co-sponsors, Parker, Conway, Middleton, Torrance, Gray, Bullock, Blanchard, Jones, Ramos, President Cohen.
Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. Philadelphia licenses and regulates businesses through their Department of Licenses and Inspections. DC through their Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. New York City through their Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. Jersey City through their Department of Commerce. Chicago through their Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. Boston through the Department of Consumer Affairs and Licensing. Miami-Dade through the Department of Regulatory and Economic Resources. Denver through the Department of Excise and Licensing. Houston through the Department of Administration and Regulatory Affairs. Pittsburgh through the Department of Permits, Licenses, and Inspections. Oakland through the Business Tax and Licensing Office. And here closer to home in Montgomery County and Howard County, each licenses businesses through their own Office of Consumer Protection. The list goes on, and the names are many and varied, but in short, Baltimore stands alone among its peer cities in not having any professionalized services dedicated to business licensing, oversight, or consumer protections. Instead, we reinvent the wheel, creating a new standalone entity dedicated to just one form of business every time a new type of business needs to be regulated in any way. And we assign ancillary work to random city personnel whose jobs and agencies otherwise have nothing whatsoever to do with licensing businesses. The result is a hodgepodge of laws that are poorly administered and unwieldy to even grasp. The Department of Consumer Protection and Business Licensing is a step forward for Baltimore to become reliable, predictable, and efficient in its dealings with businesses, and consistent in its accountability for those who take advantage of Baltimore residents and communities. I'm thankful for this bill to be allowed to be introduced as the first bill of the term this evening. And I'm uplifted by the support of our council president and so many of my colleagues, and encouraged by the collaborative work that I've been able to do with Mayor Scott and his team and his administration to come up with an implementation plan to stand up this new and important department and continue the work of delivering ever improved city services, especially through this new term, about which I am very excited. Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. Thank you all for your co-sponsorship.
Thank you, Councilman Dorsey. Thank you for your work on this bill, both this term and in the last term as well. Any additional sponsors? I see Councilmember Porter. All right. This bill has been assigned to the Housing and Economic Development Committee.
25-002, Study and Report Absences in Baltimore City Schools. For the purpose of requiring the Baltimore City Public School System, city schools, to prepare a report exploring the causes of student absences in order to better identify solutions to address the most persistent barriers students face attending school, requiring city schools to collaborate with certain city agencies to propose recommendations to address the root causes of unexcused absences found in the report, and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Conway. Co-sponsors, Parker, Dorsey, Middleton, Torrance, Gray, Bullock, Porter, Blanchard, Jones, Glover, Ramos, President Cohen.
Chair recognizes Councilman Conway.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill, as stated, requires that the Baltimore City Public School System
explore the underlying causes of student absences, and collaborate with the city agencies to propose comprehensive solutions. The report would analyze data from the year 2023 to 2024 to focus on factors such as economic class, parental involvement, transportation, and types of school to identify and address barriers preventing students from attending school consistently. This is, of course, incredibly important given the impact that chronic absenteeism has on student achievement and long-term success. By understanding these root causes, the city and the school system can work together to create targeted interventions that will improve school attendance and overall educational outcomes. This is hopefully going to become a really important step toward a brighter future for Baltimore City children and our educational landscape for them. Addressing absenteeism is not just about keeping our kids in school, it's also about investing in their potential, and by extension, investing in the potential of the city of Baltimore. Every child deserves the opportunity to learn, grow, and succeed, and this bill will hopefully remove some of the obstacles that hinder that educational journey. I look forward to getting full support of my colleagues and appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Conway. And again, we, as a council, we are going to lean in on our schools. We are going to make sure our children are getting to school on time and they are getting the best education possible. So I appreciate your leadership in sponsoring this important bill. This bill has been assigned to the Education, Youth, and Older Adults Committee.
25-0003, Historic Preservation Conservation Districts Establishment, for the purpose of establishing conservation districts, providing a study proposal and review process, defining certain terms, and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Bullock. Co-sponsors, Conway, Middleton, Torrance, Gray, Porter, Blanchard, Jones, Glover, Ramos. President Cohen.
Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, colleagues. Again, this is a bill to establish conservation districts. Baltimore is a city of neighborhoods. Baltimore is a very historic city. However, many of our neighborhoods have not benefited from the historic designation that we've seen in other parts of our city, particularly West Baltimore and East Baltimore have not benefited from this. I will say that this is not a top-down process, but a bottom-up. This is not the city council establishing these communities. However, this is on the communities to come to their council members and establish the communities that they would like to see preserved in such a fashion. So again, we're talking about everything in terms of the exteriors of these buildings and the desires that neighbors want to see. The challenge that we've seen over time is that CHAP, Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation, those CHAP districts can be quite cost prohibitive in some neighborhoods to be able to maintain things from the historic character of that time. However, we still want to be able to maintain the beauty of our communities and have that be supported not only with the designation, but also the potential tax credits that can come along with this. So again, this is not establishing them specifically, but this is allowing the process to take form. So again, each council member will be able to work with communities to help establish those requirements for those communities. And again, I thank you for having this opportunity to talk about this bill. I'm thankful for the co-sponsors who recognize, again, that there's history all throughout Baltimore, particularly in some of our neighborhoods that have been not only neglected and disinvested, but have not also been appreciated for their architectural and historical significance. So again, I look forward to having a robust conversation. I look forward to moving this legislation forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman Bullock, and thank you for your work with CHAP and just your leadership in making sure that we are not leaving any of our historic neighborhoods behind. This bill has been assigned to the Housing and Economic Development Committee.
25-0004, Midtown Community Benefits District and Management Authority, renewal through June 30th, 2028. For the purpose of reviewing, renewing, and continuing the Midtown Community Benefits District and the Midtown Community Benefits Management Authority, providing for a special effective date, and generally relating to the activities and authority of the Midtown Community Benefits District and the Midtown Community Benefits Management Authority, and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Blanchard on behalf of the administration. Co-sponsors, Gray, Jones.
This bill has been assigned to the Housing and Economic Development Committee.
25-0005, Arson Offender Registry, registration requirement. For the purpose of altering the criteria for registering as an arson offender with the police commissioner and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Council President on behalf of the administration. Co-sponsor, Schleifer.
This bill has been assigned to the Public Safety Committee.
25-0006 zoning code modifications for the purpose of amending provisions of the Baltimore City zoning code related to variances to conform to relevant state law, making modifications to the process of granting variances, clarifying provisions of the zoning code relating to non-conforming structures, and generally related to the zoning and land use laws of the City of Baltimore. Lead sponsor, Council President, on behalf of the administration. Co-sponsor, Schleifer.
This bill has been assigned to the Land Use and Transportation Committee. Next, we're going to hear introductions for a series of supplemental appropriations related to the opioid restitution fund. More than any other American city, Baltimore has been devastated by the opioid crisis. Our city, under the leadership of Mayor Scott and City Solicitor Thompson, took an aggressive approach to holding the large pharmaceutical companies responsible for the damage that they created during this crisis. That work is paying off with more than $680 million in settlements already received and potentially billions more on the way. This initial set of supplemental appropriations will allow the city to pass the first installment of the funding to the city agencies and nonprofit organizations who will administer recovery programs that will help our city heal. The council's role is oversight. As a body, we will ensure that every dollar of this infusion and the subsequent supplementals and the subsequent bills that are going to go through the budget process is spent in the most effective way possible. If we get it right, Baltimore can be a model nationally for recovery and healing from the opioid crisis. The clerk will read the next bill.
25-0007, Supplementary Special Revenue Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayor's Office of Recovery Programming, $270,000. For the purpose of providing a supplementary special revenue fund operating appropriation in the amount of $270,000 to the Mayor's Office of Recovery Programming, Service 916, Opioid Restitution Administration, to provide funding for additional positions to oversee grants awarded through the Opioid Restitution Fund and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This bill has been assigned to the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
25-0008, Supplementary Special Revenue Fund Operating Appropriation, Mayor's Office of Recovery Programming, $10 million. For the purpose of providing a supplementary special revenue fund operating appropriation in the amount of $10 million to the Mayor's Office of Recovery Programming, Service 917, opioid grants. Named organizations to provide partial grant funding for nonprofit organizations named in settlement agreements and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This bill has been assigned to the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
25-0009, Supplementary Special Revenue Fund Operating Appropriation to the Mayoralty, $1,773,000. For the purpose of providing a supplementary special revenue fund operating appropriation in the amount of $1,773,000 to the Mayoralty, Service 918, Opioid Restitution Administration, to provide funding for additional positions to provide direction and guidance regarding the city's opioid response, establishment of the Restitution Advisory Board, contractual support to establish a trust fund for litigation proceeds and community engagement, and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This bill has been assigned to the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
25-0010, Supplementary Special Revenue Fund Appropriation, Department of Law, $100,000 for the purpose of providing a supplementary special revenue fund operating appropriation in the amount of $100,000 to the Department of Law, Service 862, Transaction Contracts, to provide funding to create 2 additional positions to oversee contract agreements with grant organizations and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Council President, on behalf of the administration. Co-sponsor, Schleifer.
This bill has been assigned to the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
25-0011, Supplementary Special Revenue Fund Operating Appropriation, Baltimore City Health Department, $500,000. For the purpose of providing a supplementary special revenue fund operating appropriation in the amount of $500,000 to the Baltimore City Health Department, Service 715, Health Administration, to provide funding for planning costs for a replacement facility for the West Side Clinic and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This bill has been assigned to the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
25-0012, Supplementary Special Revenue Fund Operating Appropriation, Baltimore City Health Department, $2 million, for the purpose of providing a supplementary special revenue fund operating appropriation in the amount of $2 million to the Baltimore City Health Department, Service 307, Health Substance Use Disorder, and providing funding for staffing and support costs for opioid response and recovery strategies, and providing for a special effective date. Lead sponsor, Council President, on behalf of the administration.
This bill has been assigned to the Budget and Appropriations Committee. We will now move to resolutions of the City Council. Madam Clerk.
City Council Resolution 25-0001R, Mission Statement for the 74th term of the Baltimore City Council. For the purpose of establishing a mission statement for the 74th term of the City Council of Baltimore, lead sponsor, President Cohen, co-sponsors Parker, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Gray, Bullock, Porter, Blanchard, Jones, Glover, Ramos.
In order to build a great culture and clarity of purpose on the City Council, the body engaged in a collective process of drafting a mission statement. I'm proud that we developed a mission statement that reflects the consensus of the council for the 74th term. I would like to recognize Vice President Middleton to read the mission statement before we vote to adopt it. Vice President?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Baltimore City Council is a collaborative body dedicated to delivering reliable, equitable, and sustainable results which enhance the quality of life for all Baltimoreans. Through agency oversight, fiscal stewardship, and advocacy, we ensure the city gets the basic right while also striving toward long-term systems-level transformation. Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules for immediate adoption.
Without objection, the rules will be suspended. The rules are suspended.
Mr. President, I move that the resolution be adopted.
The clerk will call the roll.
Parker?
Yes.
McCray? Dorsey? Conway? Schleifer? Middleton?
Yes.
Torrance? Gray? Bullock? Porter? Blanchard? Jones? Glover? Ramos? President Cohen?
Yes. This motion is approved. This resolution has been adopted. I want to thank all the members for their work on it during the retreat. I also want to thank our great City Council President staff for helping to facilitate this important discussion. Our City Council now has a mission statement.
City Council Resolution 25-002R, honoring the efforts of first responders in the Camp Small Woodbury Fire. For the purpose of honoring the efforts of the first responders to the recent fire at Camp Small in the Woodbury community on December 5th, 2024. Lead sponsor, Middleton. Co-sponsors, Parker, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Torrance, Gray, Bullock, Porter, Blanchard, Jones, Glover, Ramos, President Cohen.
I will recognize the Vice President to recognize our special guest this evening.
Thank you, Mr. President. I couldn't wait to put this resolution in. It's been really a little over a month since that fire that took place on December 5th, and it stays in my mind because it happened when we all were sworn into office, and on my way driving home, just saw the fire from my house and backed out of the driveway and ended up meeting up with Chief Wallace and basically staying there till like a little after midnight. But because of what's going on, especially now in California, we just really can never thank our firefighters enough. And I just thought this was a wonderful time to remind everyone the wonderful team that we have in our fire department and its leader and the work that they continue to do in our city. and just have some formal notes here, and then we'll call them up. But to Chief Wallace and the dedicated staff of the Baltimore City Fire Department, I believe it is crucial to acknowledge your unwavering commitment to the safety of our residents. I witnessed how your team diligently contained and ultimately extinguished the devastating fire at Camp Small on that cold, windy Thursday night. It was inspiring to see all personnel come together, going above and beyond while risking their own safety. As public servants, you may not always hear the words, "thank you," but I hope that today's public expression of gratitude will convey our everlasting appreciation of your service. Mr. President and esteemed colleagues, I invite you to join me in giving a standing ovation and a heartfelt round of applause to Chief Wallace and the Baltimore City Fire Department. And on that note, I'd like to have floor privileges and ask Chief Wallace to come up and accept this resolution from the entire council. And you can also, all of you can come up. We'll squeeze you all up front.
Councilman Dorsey?
Point of order, Mr. President. I'm sure that we have a unanimous vote here, but floor privileges require a unanimous vote of all council members present.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, floor privileges are extended to the Vice President's special guest.
So you can all. Yes.
Yeah, she's gonna come back.
And then after I read this, we'll
Pass the
hear
resolution.
some words from the chief, and then we'll all take a picture together with the entire council. So again, and Mr. President, if you'd like to come down. Let me. The Baltimore City Council resolution, be it hereby known to all that the City Council of Baltimore offers its sincerest congratulations to the Baltimore City Fire Department in recognition of the commitment and tireless efforts you invest in ensuring the safety of residents in the city of Baltimore, and the entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 13th day of January 2025, signed by all the president and all members. And I just wanted to also give another congratulation on the consistent awards you win with the Maryland Association of Counties. So you're not just recognized here in Baltimore, you continually are recognized throughout the state of Maryland, and we are so proud of you all. So thank you for your continued work. So
Say a few words and then we'll bring up the members.
Okay. Good evening, and Council Vice President, I want to thank you, Council President. These guys, they're the best. The men and women of this department, they amaze me day in and day out. It's always great to see them recognized. The job that they do makes my job easy, and it is an honor to lead a department such as this. As professional as they are, And I also want to thank and recognize both union presidents are here tonight, and that's amazing. You know, we all strive to serve the city. I think that was a very good example of the challenges that they all faced that night. Finally, I want to thank the council. We get incidents like that, or even small incidents in your districts, you're out there. You come out, and if you're not, you call me. We try to get you as much information as possible. So we very much as a department also appreciate that working relationship. So thank you.
Thank you.
How many firefighters and council members does it take to take a picture? That's great. Thank you, Vice President. All right. The chair recognizes Vice President Middleton.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules for immediate adoption.
Without objection, the rules will be suspended. The rules are suspended.
Mr. President, I move that the resolution be adopted.
The clerk will call the roll.
Parker? McCray? Dorsey? Conway? Schleifer? Middleton?
Yes.
Torrance? Gray? Bullock? Porter? Blanchard? Jones? Glover? Ramos? President Cohen.
Aye. The motion is approved. This resolution has been adopted.
25-0003R, informational hearing, permit reforms. For the purpose of inviting representatives from the Department of Housing and Community Development, the Office of the City Administrator, the Baltimore City Fire Department, and the Office of the Fire Marshal, and other relevant parties to provide information on the reforms to the Department of Housing and Community Development's permits process. Lead sponsors, Ramos and President Cohen. Co-sponsors, Parker, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Gray, Bullock, Porter, Blanchard, Jones, Glover.
The chair recognizes Councilmember Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Throughout my first term, I have had to intervene on situations where homeowners, small businesses, and developers have had challenges getting any responses from the building permit office. These interventions spanned a series of issues, including not sending the payment link for 3 weeks, including no one answering the phones, plans reviewed and approved only to fail inspection later, scheduling inspections, and not being proactive in inspections. DHCD over a year ago acknowledged these challenges and made some improvements and is poised to roll out a new technology for the permit office next month. Our resolution introduced today calls for public hearings to monitor how this change is going. Having a good permits office is one of the most important pieces of the work to eliminate vacant and abandoned properties. Too often, our renovation partners, businesses, and homeowners have to wait months for permits and inspections. In addition, we're seeing rehabbed properties without the proper permits, or steps are skipped because contractors don't want to work with the city permit office. Also, even if there are permits, we have reports of shoddy work anyway because of the lack of attention to detail. In order for our vacant property strategy to work, we need an efficient and effective permit office so that our rehabs are completed in a timely manner and everyone has confidence in the quality of work of their rehab home. There should be no reason that I have more complaints about the permits office than the water bills. That has to change. I look forward to working with Chair Torrance, the Council President, and all of our colleagues in DHCD on this important issue and these hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ramos. Really important issue for our city. We know that we have a vacancy crisis in the city of Baltimore. The mayor has announced an aggressive plan to go after our vacant housing stock. And to the council members' well-made point, we can't do that if we have an inefficient, antiquated permitting system, and we hear it all the time. It is critically important that DHCD work as a partner with us on the city council to fix what is broken in permitting so that we can move the housing real estate and also grow our city. So again, thank you, Councilmember Ramos, for your leadership on this. Look forward to the series of hearings, and this resolution has been assigned to the Legislative Investigations Committee.
City Council Resolution 25-0004R, request for city action, expand the sewage on-site support program. For the purpose of expressing support for the Environmental Protection Agency's, EPA, and Maryland Department of the Environment, MDE, May 22nd, 2023 order to the Baltimore City Department of Public Works, DPW, to extend sewage on-site treatment, SOS program coverage to all residential backups caused, at least in part, by a condition in the city-owned portion of the sewage system, and calling on the mayor and Department of Public Works to implement the full original order in the emergency response plan under the modified consent decree between the city, EPA, and MDE. Lead sponsor, Gray. Co-sponsors, Parker, Dorsey, Conway, Schleifer, Middleton, Torrance, Bullock, Porter, Blanchard, Jones, Glover, Ramos, and President Cohen.
Chair recognizes Councilman Gray.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, colleagues and residents of Baltimore. Today, I'm introducing a resolution that addresses a critical and ongoing issue, and that issue is the sewage backups in Baltimore's homes caused by the city's aging and inadequate infrastructure. Between fiscal year 23 and 24, DPW reported over 3,700 sewer backups linked to at least partially the city's sewer main line. Yet DPW assistance program helped only 25 households during that period, and I'll let that sink in. This is not just a nuisance. This is a public health crisis. Left to clean up raw sewage themselves, residents are exposed to harmful pathogens, bacteria, and long-term health risks like mold and mildew. As we've seen in past reports, year after year, sewage backups occur more frequently in our low-income and majority Black neighborhoods and communities. This is an injustice that cannot continue anymore. Our communities cannot continue to be left behind in favor of maintaining the status quo. It is time for DPW to step up and meet the needs of all Baltimoreans, especially those most affected by this problem. A little history about this issue. The Expedited Reimbursement Program, or ERP, launched in 2018, was supposed to address the needs of residents impacted by sewage backups caused by wet weather-related surcharging in the sewer system. However, the plan failed, denying 85% of applicants in its first year alone. In 2019 and 2020, the City Council pushed DPW to eliminate the 311 call requirement and raise the reimbursement cap. But even with these adjustments, the program remained insufficient, leaving thousands of Baltimoreans without the help they desperately need, as it denied assistance to the majority of its claims. Fast forward to May 2023, the federal EPA and the state MDE ordered the city to expand the SOS Assistant Program to include all sewer backups caused at least in part by the city's infrastructure, not just those related to wet weather events. However, despite this order, DPW has yet to comply. Over 1,800 households have been left without support since May of 2023 due to this refusal. This is unacceptable. DPW's delay and resistance to expanding the program, they are costing residents their health, safety, and peace of mind. DPW maintains that the program is primarily based on a fiscal concern. However, this misses the larger point. By failing to expand assistance, DPW is externalizing the cost of its own infrastructure failures onto residents. This is a direct financial burden on households that cannot afford it. The current consent decree sets a floor, not a ceiling, to what DPW is required to do. There's nothing in the agreement preventing DPW from going above and beyond what's mandated. The agency could have expanded assistance years ago after the 2019 hearing, which they promised to eliminate the 311 call requirement and raise the reimbursement cap. Residents have been advocating for a change in this issue for more than a decade. Civil rights leaders like Helena Hicks and countless community organizations have fought tirelessly to bring this issue to light and demand action. Despite these efforts, DPW has continually failed to meet the needs. It is deeply unjust that this process has dragged out for so long and that thousands of Baltimore residents continue to suffer without assistance. DPW continues to have every opportunity to comply with EPA's order, and they could do so today without any further delay. This resolution calls on the DPW to immediately comply with the EPA and MDE's order to expand the assistance program, provide relief to all households affected by sewage backups caused at least in part by the city's infrastructure. It is time for DPW to speed it up and put the health and safety of Baltimore residents first. We are urging the administration to do the right thing and expand the program without further delay. We cannot wait any longer. I stand with residents and will always stand with residents who will fight, and these folks have fought for over a decade for a system that prioritizes public health and justice. This resolution is a step forward, holding DPW accountable and ensuring that most of our most vulnerable residents receive the help they need and deserve. We owe it to every Baltimorean who has experienced a sewage backup to ensure that they receive the support necessary to stay safe and maintain a healthy living environment. Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules and request immediate adoption of this resolution.
Without objection, the rules will be suspended.
And I move for
The
adoption.
rules are suspended.
Sorry.
One more time, Councilman.
Sorry, Mr. President, I move for
Yeah, stand
adoption.
up while you talk.
Sorry, President, I move for adoption.
The clerk will call the roll.
Parker? Yes. McCray? Dorsey? Conway? Schleifer? Middleton? Torrance? Gray? Bullock? Porter? Blanchard? Jones? Glover? Ramos? President Cohen.
Aye. This motion is approved. This resolution is adopted. I want to thank Councilman Gray for his leadership on this important issue, both this term and in the past, as you've worked alongside Councilman Burnett. Really appreciate you lifting up this critical quality of life issue, primarily impacting residents in West Baltimore, but for anyone that deals with it, we know it's a nightmare. And so appreciate you holding the Department of Public Works fully accountable. Thank you for your leadership. You can find the consent calendar in section A at the back of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? All those in favor of approving the consent calendar say aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion carries and the consent calendar is approved. And now we'll move to committee assignments. Chairs, when you hear your committee, please proceed with your committee announcements. Budget and Appropriations, Chair McCray.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Budget and Appropriations Committee is going to hold a legislative oversight hearing on Tuesday, February the 4th, 2025, beginning at 10 a.m. for quarterly budget briefings. We're also going to be holding a legislative oversight hearing on Tuesday, February the 4th, 2025, beginning at 10:30 a.m. for the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair McCray. Education, Youth, and Older Adults, Chair Bullock. No hearings. Housing and Economic Development, Chairman Torrance. Labor and Workforce, Chairman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Labor and Workforce Committee will hold a hearing on legislative oversight, payroll failures impacting Baltimore City firefighters on Thursday, March 5th, 2025 at 2 p.m. Additionally, the committee will also hold a second follow-up hearing for the legislative oversight, payroll failures impacting Baltimore City firefighters on Thursday, July 9th, 2025 at 2 p.m. These hearings will be held here in the council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you also to Councilman Conway, Councilman Schleifer for your work to make sure our firefighters get paid what they are due. The Land Use and Transportation Committee, Chairman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Land Use and Transportation Committee will meet on January 23rd at 10 a.m. in council chambers for members of the committee, agency leaders, and representatives and others to discuss the general business and operations of the committee, in addition to representatives from the agencies that this committee's business will primarily concern itself with: the Department of Transportation, Department of Housing, Community Development, and the Planning Department. I've also invited several private land use representatives to be able to speak to committee members' awareness on the importance of the work that we do outside of our policymaking and oversight in terms of the quasi-judicial role that the committee has to work in passing findings of facts for certain land use bills. The committee, so that will be on January 23rd at 10 a.m. The committee will also conduct its first oversight hearing on February 6th at 10 a.m. in council chambers. This will be the first in a series of operational oversight hearings that will generally be conducted regarding the Department of Transportation on the first Thursday of each month. This first topic will be covering parking enforcement. And over the next, I guess, half a year, we have an agenda of several other a number of other topics. The next being in March for community engagement, in April on lighting maintenance, in May on traffic calming, quick build, and community-led placemaking, in June on tech and footways operations, and July on right-of-way, street cuts, and maintenance of traffic permits. Again, that will be Thursday, February 6th at 10 a.m. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman Dorsey. Legislative Investigations, Chairman Schleifer. No announcements. Public Health and the Environment, Chairwoman Porter. No announcements. Public Safety, Chairman Conway. All right. We now move to regular announcements. Members, please wait to be recognized to make any regular announcements. All right. Seeing and hearing none. If there are moment of silence requests, Shamoya, our clerk, is going to record the names. Are there any requests for moments of silence? Councilman Conway?
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge a pastor in my district, Pastor Stevie Thompson, who passed a couple of weeks ago. He's been a scion in the community and unfortunately passed, and want to acknowledge him. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you. Anyone else? Councilwoman Porter?
Yes, I'd like to offer up Norfleet his last name Norfleet. And then also Mama Shirley, who's a matriarch of the Cherry Hill community.
Excellent. Anyone else? All right. We will hold a moment of silence for Pastor Stephen Thompson, Northley, and Mama Shirley. Thank you. Tonight's district spotlight comes from Councilmember James Torrance of the 7th District. Councilmember Torrance, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. In a few months, you will be getting a briefing on Charm City TV moving to Pennsylvania Avenue. It's been a long time coming, I'll put it that way. We are so close with $1 million gap in between bringing our city municipal-owned TV station to Pennsylvania Avenue in the Black Arts and Entertainment District. This is important because in several of the neighborhoods surrounding Druid Hill Park, there are a community of Black entrepreneurs who work in Hollywood and other film industries that don't actually have a place in Baltimore to actually do B-roll. On top of that, I have young people who have been interested in doing podcast studios. We have areas that want to do community meetings. What we're trying to do with this new Charm City television station is not only serve the means for municipal purposes, not only to generate revenue, but also be a resource to our Black Arts and Entertainment District in Baltimore City. There are a number of people who are small businesses that could use the state-of-the-art equipment that's coming to that actual TV station that they can lease from us to do the work that they need, and we also backfill in the economy. On top of that, outside of doing B-roll in Baltimore City, the next place to do it is in the District of Columbia. There's an opportunity as our friends in the state are looking at ways to increase revenue and bring film industry back to Baltimore to actually benefit from that without it having to be on the backs of our residents. To give you an idea, the film industry in Baltimore City has net produced in terms of jobs as well as revenue and local tax share over $1 billion in the last 15 years. Imagine if we can able to expand that and actually generate hotel revenue as well as tourism dollars to actually bring them to a Black Arts and Entertainment District. So that is a spotlight, but in the next couple of weeks, you will be having conversations about how do we fill in that gap and make sure that it comes to fruition so that my neighbors can walk to do things that they want to do for their business, or our young people can participate in podcasts, or have their own YouTube channel there actually in a mid-city municipal building. So with that being said, I yield back to Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Councilman Torrance. Really appreciate your incredible advocacy on behalf of the Black Arts and Entertainment District and making sure Charm TV has a place on Pennsylvania Avenue. To your very well-made point, this is a critical part of our local economy, and making sure we are expanding and providing opportunities for new entrepreneurs, new artists, new actors to participate is critically important. So truly appreciate your work in District 7. Thank you for your leadership on that. The next regular meeting of the Baltimore City Council will be held on Monday, January 27th, 2025 at 5 p.m. There being no further business, this concludes the second regular meeting of the 74th Baltimore City Council. Thank you.